Welcome, everyone. My name is Steve Parr. I'm the director of the Gwinnett Metro Baptist Network, and we're here to talk today about the 30044 zip code and some opportunities for ministry locally. And I'm honored to have today as my guest Keith Ivey, who serves as a consultant for missions in the Northeast Georgia region, where we are in this corner of the state. And then we're blessed to have Joe Dunson, another good friend who serves at Grace Point Church in Lawrenceville, Georgia, which is part of this zip code. And I've invited both of these men to interact with me and share with you about opportunities to make a kingdom difference in this area. And for those of us here in the Gwinnett metro area, just right across the county. And while you might not ever take a trip or be able to, overseas or even to another part of North America, if you're in our county, there's needs right here. And certainly we commend you for doing the other things, but in Acts 1:8, we begin here and work our way out. And Keith, real quickly, from the mission board perspective, we're great partners. Of course, I served there many years. Talk to us just a little bit quickly about how this came together in terms of focus on 30044 in Lawrenceville as far as a target for Northeast Georgia churches to focus on in terms of missions opportunities.
We know by now everybody's familiar with the regional strategy of the Georgia Baptist Mission Board, and as part of that strategy, we're encouraging churches to strengthen churches to pursue an Acts 1:8 strategy where they're serving, engaged in missions locally in their community, where they're engaged in missions regionally, where they're engaged in missions nationally. Our national partner is the Baptist Convention of New England, and then internationally, our partner is Peru. And these partnerships are our tools, our opportunities to help churches that aren't engaged get engaged, to kind of tee up some great opportunities. Our regional partnership is this zip code, the most unchurched zip code in the Northeast. And so we get to work with pastors like Brother Joe. We get to work with great associational mission strategists like Steve Parr. I tell people that I won. I got Steve as one of my associational mission strategists because I'm so excited about serving with you. And so it's a great privilege to be with you guys, to work with your churches and to have regional churches come alongside you to reach people for Jesus.
Well, this is interesting timing. We know it's providential, of course, that as I come into this role as the associational mission strategist, the director of the Gwinnett Metro Baptist Association, now the network we call it, that we're focusing on this zip code. So coming from the mission board here, and as we identified the most lost or most unchurched area, this area, Lawrenceville, Georgia, up 5 Fort Strickham Road, between there and I-85, that quadrant, or that piece of Lawrenceville, it's not a quadrant, it's 3 zip codes in Lawrenceville. That piece of Lawrenceville is very much unchurched. Let me just tell you a little bit about it before I let Joe describe boots on the ground as a pastor there. This zip code has about 90,000 people, so that's good news. A lot of opportunities, but about 2 in 3, while only God knows the heart, it's estimated that 2 in 3 don't have a relationship with Jesus at all, and many of the other third are unchurched. About 8 and 9 do not go to church at all, so there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of lostness there. And Joe is one of our, great pastors, a leading pastor in that zip code. But here's what's interesting. In Georgia, there's one Southern Baptist church for every 3,000 Georgia residents. Interestingly, in our network in the Gwinnett County area, of course, we're Gwinnett Plus, but in Gwinnett County, there's one church for every 7,000, or excuse me, one Southern Baptist church for every 7,000 residents. So you can see right there that we need churches, but this may be a surprise to you. In the 30044 zip code, there's only one church, one Southern Baptist church, for every 18,600 residents. And Joe and Keith, that may be why it is so unchurched and so lost. Not to say there's not other churches there.
That's right.
But we have, honestly, a very small footprint. We only have, for that 90,000 population, 5 Southern Baptist churches that are part of our network. And there are no others, by the way. So 5 Southern Baptist churches. So in essence, for our English-speaking population there's one church for every 26,000.
Wow.
Compared to Georgia, 1 to 3,000. Wow. For English-speaking African-American congregations, one church for every 23,000. But you have to combine those, when you look at it too, because we say English-speaking, we want to be multicultural from the approach of pastors. I know Joe seeks to reach everybody he can who's English-speaking. Not that they don't want to reach people of other languages, but there's a barrier there, as far as that goes. But for our Hispanic brothers, there's one church for every 26,000 Hispanics. Wow. So you see what the challenge is there. There are 11,000 Asians in this zip code. There's only one church. It is a Korean church. There are 4,000 Vietnamese. That's the largest Asian group in that zip code. There's no church, however, reaching out to Vietnamese. We do have one other church. There's 5 total. One English-speaking Anglo, one English-speaking African-American, one West African pastor, and one Hispanic or Spanish-speaking Hispanic pastor, and one Korean-speaking Korean pastor. So those are the churches that we have in this area. So there is a need, and about a week ago, Keith and Joe and I met with the pastors from that area with some other interested pastors, and 4 of our 5 pastors were there. Joe, you were there, okay?
Yes.
And we'll talk about that meeting in a moment. Before we do, Joe, just give us from boots on the ground, though, your view of some of the challenges and needs in this zip code that you're experiencing as a local pastor there.
Okay. Well, great. I count on the privilege and honor to be able to have an opportunity just to talk a little bit about what God is doing in the area. We know that there's such a great need, and there's only a few churches there. So the mission field is wide open. So the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few.
True.
And what we see is that, we do a lot of evangelism. We do a lot of outreaches and things, but you just need more people to try and help, doing this, this great harvest. And so that is one of the biggest challenges that, we do quite a few outreaches. We try to do a lot of evangelism and try to reach people, but it's just trying to get more laborers to actually assist you as those people come in. Like, for an example, we had a fall festival, and we had over 500 people show up for the fall festival. But then, the Lord blessed, they even came out in the rain. But then the thing was to follow up, trying to be able to follow up with all of them. You just didn't have enough people to actually reach them all. So we did all that we could. And some came and became a part of the church. And the others, they're still available. So we know that they're out there, and we have the information. We just have to have enough people in the laborers.
And you referenced harvest is plenteous, laborers are few from Matthew 9, 37, 38. And indeed, that is fitting for this area. And you guys were with me when we met with those pastors, just fine gentlemen who have a sincere love for the Lord. And I know one in particular had a very evangelistic heart. Not that the others don't, but one just guy in particular just bleeds evangelism. It's just a delight to interact with all of them. And you remember last week we began to talk about if a congregation wanted to come to your church and help, what might that look like? They were coming across the county or coming from another part of the state. What do you guys recall from that conversation about what the pastors expressed their needs were in terms of the way that churches would help? Keith, what do you recall?
I remember pastors talking about, like Brother Joe has, about the need for help and just evangelizing. There's just so many people, and there's big apartment complexes. There's Joe, I remember you talking about there being 12 subdivisions on one road. So, I mean, there's just a concentration of families, and you talked about the number of children and kids in your communities. And they talked about the need for help with transportation to some of their ongoing ministries, the need for drivers. They talked about community engagement. I remember, I think it was Glenn talking about engaging with some of the senior adult community in his area and engaging with schools. And I know y'all do that, Joe, and others probably do, engaging with local schools and helping with those kind of outreach ministries. Those are some of the things I remember. Joe, you remember anything else that we?
Yeah, you pretty much covered it. And a lot of times too with evangelism, outreach. We have a huge pantry that's actually really doubled in size since COVID, of course. But we have a lot of people that actually come that just really needs to be. We have the same people just doing the same stuff, and the problem is you end up burning them out.
Well, I remember you told me one guy was at the pantry 4 straight days. I think you told me.
That's correct. That's correct.
That's awesome.
He's such an awesome deacon, and he has a good heart. But I have to, I don't want him to burn out before time. So I have to say, hey, we got to get some more people to assist you with that. And it's just the same thing with discipleship. We've had, I think it was the first of the year, we've had at least about 5 or 6 baptisms. And so
Amen.
usually after that, we usually try to get them into our discipleship class and sort of help them grow. And so there's a need there too, as far as just trying to, you have the same people trying to do the same thing as far as with the pantry, with the discipleship, going out trying to pick up people. So it's a great need.
I remember
have people to assist.
Yeah, Joe, and I didn't mean to step over you just then.
That's okay.
I recall a big need for children, students, and that's again a universal need. It seems like next gen ministry. Honestly, the churches we have there, again, fine pastors, but they tend to be very small congregations with limited resources and limited people to help, and that makes it a challenge, with children and teens. And I recall one thing that the church has expressed is just the need. If a church could send some laborers, I'll give you an example if you're listening to this. While you've got members that you would not want to give up totally, or I understand that, they give you resources, they give you leadership. And while those members might not, again, ever go overseas, I wonder if you might consider giving a couple for 3 months to go serve in one of these churches. Or, if several churches did that, Joe, that would be huge. If 4 or 5 churches send you one couple apiece for just 3 months, to really sow some seed. Same thing if you do, or 6 months or even a year, but at least 6 weeks, just say, hey, I want you to go there for 6 weeks. Or you can do another thing where we're going to send I think that's more valuable, but another thing is send a week for a month and have a rotation, first Sunday, second Sunday, third Sunday, to go in, work with preschool, work with children, just helping the pastor any way he needs it. And some of you listen to this, you're from very strong churches. You know how to really do things well, and you can just contribute a lot. So I want you consider contacting me and let me connect you with one of these pastors to maybe send some laborers on a rotation or for a season. And one other thing I'd add, I want to invite you and challenge you to consider adopting one of these churches. Joe, it'd be great if you had 2 or 3 churches to sponsor or adopt you, though you're not a church plant technically right now, and just say, we're going to pray for you and provide resources and be available for you in any way. So those are just some things I'm thinking about in terms of what I heard and how we can very practically respond. Joe, what would you add to that if a church wanted to assist you or one of our other 4 churches who came, what that might look like if they wanted to assist you on a weekend or for a week or for a season? What might that look like to you?
It would be great. One of the things is definitely, if trying to help out, particularly with our pantry, which we usually runs every Saturday, from 1 to actually it's supposed to be from 1 to 3, but typically it's 1 until all the food is gone.
Right.
And so, getting someone to assist there. I know we're very, very big in evangelism. And one of the things that God has just really shown me is that he's going to send the families to us. And he's really been doing that through the pantry. And so just having someone there to assist a lot of times with those families, to pray with those families. A lot of times they, it's not just about the food. It's about the spirituality and to meet that spiritual need. So that would be one thing. And the other thing too is just, with VBS or having a week where we do a lot of outreaches, or we do what we call block parties. Sometimes we'll go into a neighborhood, get permission and ask, could we do like a little small concert, or maybe we grill out or something. You sort of, draw a crowd, get the kids to come, and then I get a chance to present the gospel. Used to do that quite a bit in our early days. We used to have a large group of kids, teenagers, when my kids was growing up. So my son was very talented as a musician, and so he grabbed a lot of his friends, and so we would go to the communities and do that. So now it's been passed down to some of the other younger ones. So there's so many different opportunities, even someone to just assist, like you say, with Sunday school class or some discipleship classes, or just coming along and just helping the nursery. Those are really, really important things. A lot of times when you see a lot of visitors that come, when you have a lot of people and you don't have a lot of people serving, it sometimes it becomes a deterrent
It does.
because they sort of feel like, okay, well, you got all of these opportunities, but it doesn't look like you understand or know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like you know what you're doing. It's just you can't be in 10 places.
Yeah. Well, I know Joe's heart, and Joe and I actually attended the same church for some years. He was on staff at the church where I was a member, and I know Joe's heart. But I tell you what, when you start small and you're in a tough community, you need all hands on deck. And I know Joe and others need to develop leaders, but sometimes they need a boost, to get going, and some modeling and some service. And Joe, my experience in working in food distribution, pantry type situations, and I've had many opportunities to do that. People are open to conversations. It's really not threatening, like going door to door, although I don't object to that if it's what God leads you to do. But people are open when they're coming to receive that gift, to have prayer and conversations. So I want to encourage you, if you're a Gwinnett pastor, consider adopting one of these churches or contacting me, and I'll get you in contact. And bear in mind, if you're listening to this through some translation, if you're a Korean church, we've got a Korean speaking pastor. If you're a Hispanic church, we've got a Spanish speaking pastor. And they need assistance, and maybe need assistance in English also for second generation in both of those congregations. I'd love to connect you with someone like Joe. Joe's at the front line here being a part of this, gets the advantage. And so, but the other guys want to do that too. So please contact me. And my email is steve@gmba.org. That's steve@gmba.org. I'm going to let Joe give you his in a moment. Before we do that, Keith, there may be some people listening in who are not from the Gwinnett Network who picked up on this webinar, who are in other parts of Northeast Georgia. So talk for a moment how they might get engaged and how you might help them do that. And of course, you and I both, but just talk to other churches outside the Gwinnett Network for a moment on behalf of the mission board.
Right. I'm just excited about the idea of churches becoming places where we send our members out for ministry. I do think that is really what God is doing in the church today. When you look at the amazing movement of the Lord, and I believe it. I'm excited about what could happen if we caught this vision for coming alongside these congregations and the opportunities that are there. So I mean, I see a lot of opportunities, a lot of the special things. We're within the region. You're within at most an hour and a half. I mean, that's the furthest spot of our whole region to this area. You can pop in for a day and serve at that food pantry. You could have a team serve. You could have a team follow up. You could have a team working with kids. You could have a team doing all kinds of stuff. Just for the day. You could come in and for a season travel in and come alongside one of these churches on a Sunday. You could come in and teach Sunday school. You could come in and teach a discipleship class in the evening. You could go and help do a small group outreach at one of the apartment complexes. That would be exciting if somebody would adopt something like that. I mean, that would be a game changer. And so there's just some really neat opportunities. We're just limited by our imagination, really, because God is doing some amazing things, and we just kind of need to get on board with the possibilities He's got.
Good. Hey, give your contact information, Keith, in case somebody needs to contact you real quick.
Yeah, my email is kivey@gabaptist.org, so hit me up.
All right, I'm going to give Joe the kind of last word here to wrap this up. Before we do, I want to challenge all of you who are watching this who are pastors in churches. You may think, well, hey, we're limited ourselves. We need help. But let me tell you this principle is you just say, Lord, we're going to give of ourselves. We're going to invest in another church who's hurting. Wherever you are, there's always somebody who's hurting more, whether it's your personal life or church or whatever. Somebody, needs help. So I think just to be a blessing to others and trust God to bless you instead of sitting and waiting to receive something. I want to challenge you to consider one of these churches. Also, we need to plant churches. Maybe God's putting it on your heart. We'd like to talk about planting a church in that zip code also. So I appreciate you so much. Joe, I'm going to let you say the last word quickly, and I'll just dismiss us and send us out of here. But Joe, just a final word of encouragement and challenge to pastors watching this today.
Yes. Well, thank you for the opportunity to just share and let you understand what God is doing in this area. I know it looks like that, there's so many things and it may appear that, that God is, sometimes it sort of feels like, the only few that's out there just trying to work. But we know that we have faith over fear, and we know God would never leave us or forsake us. So I just pray that God would just touch your hearts and come alongside. If you send someone for a day or for a week, all of us can be helpers one to another. And it's all about the kingdom. It's not about someone trying to build up their church. It's about trying to reach lost souls for Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Because our world is hurting and they need Jesus. And I think that the church, I know that it first starts with the church. We can try and change everything in politics, but it starts with our church. Amen. So thank you so much for that opportunity. And I just want to give you my contact information. It's Joe Dunson, dunsonjoe@yahoo.com is the easiest way to contact me, or our church phone number is 770-995-5812, 5812. So thank you again.
Thank you, Joe. And for those of you watching, Joe is a bivocational pastor. He's a physician's assistant. So pray for him as he's working in the field today, and all of our frontline workers, especially in the season that we are in right now. And you who are watching, who may be associational missionaries, you see how blessed I am to have pastors like Joe Dunson leading churches in our network. Keith, love you, brother. Thank you so much. Joe, you too. And those of you who took time to watch, thank you for taking time today. You just pray and seek the Lord, and I trust He'll lead you in the right direction. But anyway, we're going to sign it off, but let us know if we can serve you. And let us know if we can connect you to one of these churches or one of these opportunities in the 30044 zip code in Lawrenceville, Georgia. God bless and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. God bless.